Back to Loudoun County this morning, where Virginia's Attorney General Jason Miyares just wrapped his investigation into the school district. He found potential violations to Title IX and has since referred the case to the U.S. Department of Education and the Department of Justice. Attorney General Miyares joins us now live this morning. Good morning to you. Thank you for coming on Fox 5. This incident involves the incident in the boys' locker room at Stonebridge High School. And I'm curious to know, what did you find regarding potential violations to Title IX?
Well, what we have found is Loudoun County Public Schools have both bad policy and bad judgment. They instituted a policy several years ago called Policy 8040 that allows biological boys, members of the opposite sex, on women's sports teams, in locker rooms, in bathrooms, and even hotel rooms on overnight trips. This has created a lot of concern, obviously, with parents and with students. We know that back on March 19th, a biological girl that looks like a girl but identifies as a man walked into a boys' locker room with their cell phone and recorded 3 boys that were in the locker room at the time. The boys felt uncomfortable and asked this individual to leave the locker room. They were the victims, actually, of this person improperly recording them, which is a violation of school policy. But the victims, these 3 boys, some of which were Christian and one was Muslim, suddenly were finding themselves being told that they were the victim of a Title IX, which is a sex discrimination investigation by the school. They were pulled out of class on March 21st, and then March 28th, they were notified by the school district's Loudoun County Public School District Title IX coordinator that they were indeed the victim of a Title IX investigation on sex discrimination, even though they were the victim of this recording. So for your viewers to be aware, Title IX is incredibly serious. It attaches to your academic record. It could lead to potential expulsion. It follows you throughout your academic career. And so these young teenagers, simply for voicing their concerns that a member of the opposite sex was in their locker room, now they had the full weight of Loudoun County Public Schools on their shoulder coming after them and potentially facing expulsion. So what we found after looking at the video is this allegation was completely unfounded against them. The video does not in any way show that they're being discriminatory or derogatory. They're asking this woman that was this girl student in the locker room recording them to leave. And it just goes to show misplaced priorities, we think, by Loudoun County and how they've handled this.
Yeah, so you saw no evidence of hate speech or threats in that interaction. I'm curious to know though, because I've seen reports that the student at the center of this investigation had been using the boys' locker room for quite some time. Did you find that in your investigation? And if so, what made this time different?
What made this time different is this person decided to come in and start recording the boys visibly on their phone. And what I thought was most astonishing is this became public, that these victims were now the subject of this Title IX complaint. This became public on May 5th. May 6th, Governor Youngkin asked my office to investigate to get to the facts and the truth of the matter. The day after the Governor Youngkin asked my office to investigate, the very next day, another complaint was filed by the same student, by the same transgender student, alleging that one of the students had misgendered them over a year prior in the different academic year, which a lot of people can conclude that this was a pattern of intimidation for these young boys, that they were simply voicing their obvious concern. And this is a great example of, I think, a school district which is, quote unquote, so open-minded that their brain falls out. This would have never been even debatable 15 years ago. If I had told you we'd be even having this discussion, you would have thought I was from another planet. That we're actually debating members of the opposite sex being in locker rooms and bathrooms and on sports teams and in sometimes hotel rooms and overnight trips. Yet here we are. This shows you that the Loudoun County School Board is focused on a really radical left-wing view of ideology and sex, and they're shoving it right down on this school district. And right now, these 3 boys, just for voicing common sense, were now the victim of the full weight possible expulsion just because they voiced their concerns.
Finally,
that's not
here,
it's misplaced priorities.
We have about 60 seconds left. When it comes to this policy that LCPS has, on one side, you have many people, as you suggested here, they feel unsafe with it. But you'll talk to others who say, well, I will feel unsafe without it. Is there some sort of middle ground here for all students involved? And if so, what would that look like?
The easiest thing for Loudoun County Public Schools to do is to adopt Governor Youngkin's common sense, very sensible model policies that protects men and women. Obviously, these individuals, that the very tiny percentage of the population could find an accommodation. But what we're asking is everybody else, including these young teenage boys and young teenage girls, remember this is also a policy that allows biological boys in their locker rooms to deal with this situation. It defies all common sense, but common sense isn't very common these days, and that's what we're trying to work back to get.
All right, Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares, thank you so much for joining us. We'll continue to follow this case that you have since referred to the U.S. Department of Justice and Department of Education. Thanks for your time. We'll be right back.